Hi, Dr. Kate here, Mastery of Wellbeing for Business Success. This is my newest tag to describe how I support women entrepreneurs in having real success, of creating a new version of success that does not include having to be completely exhausted, overwrought, worried, stressed out, losing time for yourself and things that are important to you. So I'm here today to talk about the Heroine, which is the goddess or feminine archetype, which we want to talk briefly about. What is an archetype? An archetype is an energetic of a way of relating to ourselves that is sort of worldwide connected, right? It's like you could have a woman who lives in a completely different part of the world, and she may connect with herself in this aspect. So it's an actual consciousness, okay? So archetypes are what we use in my book called Fearless as a way to work with the different dimensions of ourselves to address how to live with more inner peace, more ability to handle the chaos and the fears and the worries in a way that help you not only take care of you, but take care of your business in a way that works for you. So the heroine is the aspect that I connect to our bodies, how we as women can start to relate to our bodies in a very different way that can help us. And that part of the problem with how the world is functioning right now is that most of us are living pretty disconnected from our bodies, and especially as women, we usually have a not very positive experience and judgment about our bodies, and that's something that we really want to work with when we want to find inner peace and an ability to cope with life differently. So the way that I bring that in is that we really want to acknowledge the ways that we're not fully embodied, right? We get pulled out of ourselves in the way that life is busy and it draws our attention to everything. We're always on the go. And all these ways of being pulled outside of ourselves are also the ways we're taught to cope. If you're stressed, go watch a movie or go watch TV or go have a glass of wine. And when we do these things as our only way of coping, we're sort of constantly being a little dissociated, and how that is part of what adds to us being more anxious, more slightly frazzled by life's challenges, life's uncertainties. So we work with how do you get out of those patterns a little bit, not like that's good or bad patterns, but more about how do we start finding positive, loving ways to be present in our bodies. And that helps us connect with that heroine archetype, which gives us permission to start paying attention to how we feel, right? To really know what we feel and what we need as women, which is so key, right? Like, I don't know about you guys, but most women I know and that I've worked on in myself, we struggle to really know how we're feeling and what we really need. And so what we call emotional intelligence is the work of getting embodied again so that we can feel what's going on. We can connect again with that wisdom of knowing and sensing what we feel and what we need, what our boundaries are, what our no's are. And those are all so important for us as women. And then the other pieces of working with the heroine is we recognize those places where we're disconnected from what is truly valuable for us. We get a lot of constant media and a lot of messages thrown at us everywhere, right? And it's always telling us these other ideas of what you should subscribe to be happy, or this is what is most important in the world. And we lose that connection with what is valuable to us. And we're all different. Even though we might have very common core values, we all have the important job of being able to reconnect there. And assess, like, am I living around my core values, what's really important to me, or have I gotten pulled kind of off center and I'm getting caught up in these ideas of living a certain life or things going a certain way that isn't really that true for me. I know I've had to look at that quite a few times in my lifetime, because I have that problem of like being able to be susceptible to other people's perceptions. And I have to constantly come back to what is my truth, and what do I see and experience is really valuable and worthy and important for me. So that's a lot of work that I do with my clients, is to come back and say, okay, you're in your business and you're loving it, but it's also super stressful for you. And let's step back and look at how it's working with your values of what's really most important. What's lining up there and what isn't, and is creating a lot of stress, or is creating an inner conflict almost, right? Like, I love my job going well, and I love having more abundance, but these other parts that are really important for me are getting squished. I don't have as much time or energy to put into these other things that are also important to me. So that's what I do when I work with women who are, owners of their own business, entrepreneurs, coaches, is I help them really step back and look at that again, and then see what do we need to do to shift again, to kind of create a new version of success, because we get to determine what that looks like. It's not like some outside template that we have to follow, right? Okay, then we go into this idea of how we're disembodied, right? We talked about being slightly dissociated and kind of disconnected from our values. And then we have this thing about how do we get more connected in ourselves so that we can appreciate, love, and acknowledge our bodies and all they do for us. And that's not just from a physical level. Certainly that's an important part. And as women, I think we're taught to not appreciate our bodies, especially if they don't, look a certain way. And we certainly know that that's a huge issue for most of us, of like not loving our bodies as they are, not appreciating that this is our sacred temple. And so there's a physical level of that. And then there's also this sort of energetic part of how important it is for us to be more clear and taking care of our bodies, not just like the food we eat, but also, are we clearing out energy that isn't serving us when we are in a situation maybe that was really disturbing, or how we just kind of can collect other people's energies, you want to be mindful of that, or how we're harboring old, wounds. That's the other level of the work of the heroine, is we're working with clearing out those old patterns and old wounds that really are no longer serving us. They're not allowing us to move fully into the present time and what's possible and our real sense of personal power. So that's a little bit about the heroine. She's like this awesome aspect of us that can really propel us forward in a new way to define that version of success that's actually going to allow you to be aligned with who you are and meaningful to those that you're wanting to work with and reach. So it is possible, and the heroine helps us do that. So thank you for joining me today. Please share where you're coming from and what your thoughts might be about what we've shared today. And we'll continue this week. I'm gonna work a little more with the heroine tomorrow, and then we're gonna work with the goddess aspect of the archetype on the next 2 days after that. So please keep checking in, and thanks for showing up. And I wish you the rest of the day to be peaceful, loving, and beautiful.